Hello everyone, this is your friend and I am back with a new fanfic part 1. The fanfic title is What If Naruto Never Realized Hinata Loved Him part 1. I hope you enjoy this fanfic, and if you enjoy this, so don't forget to subscribe my channel. Now let's start the fanfic. Konoha, the hidden village of the Leaf, amongst the 5 great nations. After the war, Naruto had been accepted as the savior of not only the shinobi villages, but the whole world. This indeed had certain unusual circumstances to take place, and one of them was Naruto's popularity boost. Not that to become famous after saving the world is strange, but it sure is a new form of different. Though some things have changed, unlike his childhood, Naruto now receives kindness and gratitude from people. They greet him, wave at him, and in some cases, follow him. Just like the members of the unofficial Uzumaki fan club. Ever since he saved the world from the terrors of Kagura and arrogance of Sasuke, he had received gifts, invites and letters with pink flowers in uncountable numbers. Though to him, this all was just the kindness of his villagers and the citizens for him ending the war, right? And you think that he will take this scarf you knitted in those terms as well, yeah? Muttered Ino. Hinata's head moved up and down as her eyes constantly stared at the red material resting peacefully at her lap. The truth was, she thought that he will not even consider accepting her gift at all. Yes, she was grown up, and yes, she had promised herself to stand with him for the rest of her life, but this was more big of a mission that she had ever faced in her life. Well, there's limit to the cure of his idiocy, but your shyness is not helping any, Hinata, said Sakura. Hinata knew that her words were no less than accurate, but what can she do? As soon as she sees his face, she just loses all her senses. Apparently, all the girls had planned to talk to Hinata in order to motivate her so she can advance in her task. Thanks to Hanabi, of course. Even she was getting restless watching her sister strolling back and forth in the corridors every day. But none of them knew that today, they were about to receive the biggest, mightiest and the most absurd shocker they had ever received. As their little discussion continued, the least expected person to enter a coffee shop opened the door. Noises of gasping and plates breaking arose, and the girls looked behind and saw someone they weren't expecting, Naruto. All his life, he had only seen the walls of a certain ramen shop, and to see him enter somewhere as fancy as a cafe was just unreal. But that was not the topic of interest. He, Uzumaki Naruto, was not alone. Not because of all the stalkers following him, but because of the unknown presence to his right, who latched onto his arm and emitted a joyous smile. Wait, what? As soon as Sakura's shout reached him, and Naruto, quickly recognizing whose voice it is, knew that he is going to have a long day. 10 minutes later. It was legendary, Naruto's thickhead and his oblivion, but to come up one day and announce that he is in a relationship was deafening, wrong and just not right. Yes, Naruto was in a relationship, with a girl, in the romantic terms at that. So you're saying that this girl here with you is your girlfriend? Asked a very amazed Ino. Yes, guys, this is Hinami-chan, my girlfriend. Hinami-chan, these all are my comrades, and a part of my family. The honorific Chan didn't go unnoticed by many, especially Hinata, who was currently looking in awe at the girl besides Naruto. Hinami was a tall, young girl no more than her own age. She had long brown hair which were tied into a ponytail. Her dark blue oceany orbs reminded her of Naruto. Her figure was the exact definition of perfect curves, the correct features and the warm personality just like Naruto. She was like a perfect match for him. It's a pleasure meeting you all ladies. Even her voice was sweet and charming. Naruto knew that the girls had many questions going on in their minds right now. They all looked as if someone had asked them for their kidneys, completely shocked and shaken. What exactly is this, Naruto? How come you suddenly have a girlfriend? Asked Tenten. I'm sorry that I was never able to introduce her to you all before, but my relationship with Hinami-chan is not so sudden. After the war, I was asked by many lords to be their guest of honor in the many feasts of the celebration of the ending of the war. It was then, 2 years ago, when I was called to a village named hidden village of the angels, and that's when the first time I saw Hinami-chan. As Naruto explained his story, not only the girls, but the whole cafe started getting attentive to their hero's tale. I spent a month over there, and that's when my feelings towards her started to grow. Hinami-chan was strong, charming, and the very definition of the word beautiful. No wonder she was a shinobi of the hidden village of the angels. It was not long before I realized that I saw her more than just a friend, but all I knew was that my feelings could be one-sided, so I waited until my last night in the village. I had asked for her to meet me in the mountains by dawn because even if I had no chance, I'd still not give up without trying. By now, Hinami's face was a synonym of the color pink. Even all the girls, along with the villagers, were looking in awe. After I had confessed to her, Hinami just ran off without saying a word. I mistook it for a rejection and was utterly heartbroken. But I knew that if I had waited longer, it would have been worse because Kurama's advice has never been wrong. So the next day, I decided to leave early so I could avoid being seen by her at all costs. After meeting the cage, and as soon I was out of his tower, there she was, standing in the most strange and nervous state I had ever seen her in. And do you know what she did next? As soon as Naruto said that, a squeak escaped her lips and everyone came closer to Naruto even more if possible. Knowing that they were getting restless, Naruto continued. She told me that my feelings were not one-sided at all, but they were mutual in every way possible. But she didn't tell me this in words, rather she practiced the phrase that actions speak louder than words. She at first was looking anywhere but me. It felt as if she is seeing the GR for the first time, and it was the most awkward situation I had ever been in. Naruto knew that he is really getting her girlfriend on the edge as he felt her grip tighten up even more. She came closer to me and without wasting any moment, she embraced me in the warmest hug I had ever received. Yes, I was shocked and at a loss of words, but that was not all. She then brought my face closer to her lips, at a point when our features were completely aware of each other's presence, and then she touched my cheeks with her lips in the most gentle manner you can imagine. He did it. She was practically hyperventilating right now as the people who were in the cafe started to clap and cheer in an effort to congratulate them both and soon returned to their seats. Though this was not over yet. The first one to speak up again was Tamari. Not that her point was invalid, but she was the answer to the question herself in a way. Well, it's a lovely story, Naruto, but how come we never got to meet her before and why now? It's just like it was with you, Tamari. You were a shinobi of Suna, and couldn't leave your village due to being on active duty, and it took you a year as per the village law to transfer your citizenship to that of Konoha. It's different with every village, and for her village, the law was for 2 active years before the transfer. So as of last night, Hinami is an official citizen of Konoha as approved by both the cages. His explanation did make sense to them. So how did you kept in contact with her during this period, and why not tell us about her before you baka, stated Sakura. Well, it's simple. I placed a Hiroshin seal outside her village, and whenever I was free, I'd visit her. Though it was difficult because she was on missions too, but we managed to keep up to ourselves. As far as not telling goes, Hinami thought that it'll be better to wait till she is transferred here, so I never told anyone. As Naruto finished, he noticed that Hinata was more silent than usual and looked quite strange. Hinata, is everything okay? You don't look so good. As soon as she heard him, she stood up and started to leave. Oh no, it's just a headache I've been experiencing. I think I should head home. And with that, the door closed behind her. Naruto, I'm happy for you, but this sudden news is just too unreal for some people. Sakura knew that Hinata needs some time alone right now, and so did the rest of them, and no one decided to go after her. Though soon, Naruto stood up. Sorry dear, I have to be somewhere. You girls chat and get to know each other by then, and soon he was running out of the cafe. What's gotten into him? Muttered Tenten. Must be something really urgent, spoke Hinami. This did get the attention of the rest of them. She had spoken up for the first time after their introduction. So, Hinami, tell us more about yourself. I am Yamanaka Ino, This is Haruno Sakura. Over here we have Nara Tamari and finally Tenten Tenten, said Ino as she introduced themselves and tried to spark up a conversation. Tenten muttered something about blondes and their idiocy. Hinami giggled at that. I am Tenshi Hinami, former shinobi of the hidden village of the angels. It's good to meet close friends of Naruto-kun. Ino's demeanor suddenly changed as she stood up and came close to Hinami. Listen up, Missy. Ever since Naruto became popular, every girl, and I mean every girl, is suddenly after him. It's not unimaginable to think you're just a con, so we're keeping an eye on you. Neither was she frightened, nor did she move, but she did look a little sad. Hinami was quiet for a moment, but soon she spoke up. I've not known Naruto-kun for longer than you all, but I still know him better than many people. I am not after Naruto-kun's popularity, otherwise you wouldn't have to wait for 2 years to meet me. Naruto is more skilled than you can imagine. Kurama-san has been teaching him a lot of things after the war, and he is hence very good at reading body languages and deducing what one is thinking. He would have known the instant after my confession whether or not am I the real deal. I don't care if he is popular or average, I love him for the kind, pianate and brave person he is. Everyone knew that the Yamanakas have good interrogation skills. They don't only control minds but can judge a person better than anyone else. Ino knew that what the brunette in front of her said was what she truly feels like, even though she was happy that Naruto had finally found someone he can love, but she still felt bad for Hinata because she had loved him from the very beginning. I didn't mean to be rude, Hinami. It's just that he has been through a lot from his childhood. We all know how much he deserves, and that's why we wanted him to be with Hinata. The girl who just left, her name is Hyuga Hinata. She has been in love with that guy like in forever. He is just so dense that he never understood. Now you coming all of a sudden, even though you've been together for 2 years, but for us it's still quite a shock, but for Hinata, it's a completely different story, stated the blonde. All the girls looked very sad for Hinata, and even Hinami, upon hearing what Ino had just said, felt very bad. When she left, I knew that it's not just a simple headache. I can't bear even imagining being separated from Naruto-kun. I know it must be very hard on Hinata-san. I'll talk to her. I know there is something I can do to cheer her up. Trust me on this one. All the girls perked up on hearing this. Though from the looks, they knew they aren't going to know what the girl has on her mind. Anyway, how is your first time in Konoha? Like the place? Oh no, Tenten-san. This is not my first time in the village. I've been here on some missions before, also with Naruto-kun on my free time, replied the brunette. Naruto is a great guy, but still very dense. We'll show you around village. What do you plan to do tomorrow? Asked Sakura. Well, I've applied to become a ninja. They said that my test is tomorrow and my rank will hence be decided on how I perform. Oh, so you plan to join us? Good luck. Still, this is quite unreal. I never thought one day I would be talking to that idiot's girlfriend. Hinami smiled at the thought. While over here they were talking, at another place, 2 different lives were about to change. Hinata was sobbing besides the waterfall. It was the same one where Naruto had seen her. There was still so many memories, so many feelings and so many dreams, all shattered in one evening. She was in deep thought. Hinata was losing hope and fast. It's all my fault. I didn't approach him earlier. It was bound to happen one day. But right now, she wasn't alone. There was someone else, hearing her talk to herself. I knew you'd be here, Hinata-chan. There you go. The first chapter. Tell me what you guys think. There's going to be a lot of drama in this FIC along with a lot of twists over here and there. I have something planned and believe it might be something you have never read. R and tell me, what do you think about the start? Cheers. Alasa, well, isn't it obvious? Okami Fusion, thanks for the advice. I've taken it into consideration in this FIC, laughing face. 7. I will try my best to update the chapters as soon as I can. Keep reviewing. On with the chapter. Kakashi was busy with his paperwork as usual and muttering something about retiring when there was a sudden knock at the door. You may come in. With that, Kakashi became proper and managed to look like a leader with his back up straight and the cold empty eyes. But relaxed back to his normal state when he saw who it was. "I'm here for my test," Hinami stated, closing his door behind her. "Ah, it's just you. We would have given you a rank just like that, but can't go against these laws for even you." Kakashi pushed a button under his table and within moments an Anbu was kneeling before him. "It'll be 3 tests for you. The first one would be the basic and traditional written test, second one being the physical test, and the third one is, well, you don't really call it a test, but let's say if you make it, which I am sure you will be a choice. Fox, take her to the academy. Her test will commence in room 33. Good luck." The previous night, "I knew you'd be here, Hinata." Her ears perked up as soon as she heard his voice. It couldn't be him, could it? Hinata was certain that no one was following her when she got there. On top of that, she hadn't told anyone about the place. She turned around dreadfully, hoping that she was wrong, but there he stood, orange shirt, black trousers, the golden locks and the whiskers. Hinata was terrified. She didn't know what she should do. "The headache, I suppose," stated the blonde. Naruto started to close the gap between them. When he was at a meter's distance from her, he started. "All my life, Hinata, I was hated by those around me, cursed, abused and rejected wherever I went. Everyone was afraid of the demon inside of me, so afraid that they forgot I was a human just like them. I grew up with hate and loneliness. True, I made some friends in the academy, but I was still the dead last, the failure. Even as time passed, I resented the fact that they hate me for something I am not, but still I never gave up. I was desperate that they acknowledge me." Naruto moved forward and occupied the empty rock which was a little away from Hinata. She kept her eyes on him all the time, listening to every word he spoke. She already knew about that, about all of that. No one else knew better than her that what had he been through. She herself was rejected by her own clan, called weak and a failure. She understood how it felt to be rejected, to be declared a burden which is better off thrown away. She could understand just how broken he must have felt all that time. Naruto was looking straight into the waterfall. He was in deep thought, as if revising something. You normally don't see this side of Naruto. Hinata watched closely. A small smile graced his lips. "Soon, we got into a war. We lost many comrades, people we fought with, people we ate with. Everybody had hopes that I would somehow save them again, just like before when pain invaded Konoha. These were the people who had shunned me from my very childhood, but now they all were supporting me. It was a huge achievement for me, to make them acknowledge me." Hinata remembered it all. She felt nostalgic as everything came flooding towards her, the way Naruto started to gain respect and love which he truly deserved. "To be honest, Hinata, I was scared, even though I never showed it, but I was very terrified. I didn't want to lose everyone. They all had just started to acknowledge me. I started to lose hope when Neji died protecting me. Ever wonder, Hinata? Wonder how I became what I am today?" Hinata couldn't understand what he was trying to point at. Sure, she had her own ideas, but she wanted him to keep on sharing himself with her. So she let him continue. Naruto took a deep breath, released it and continued. "From my childhood till today, whatever was it that I went through, there was someone in my life, Hinata, someone who accepted me when I was rejected, someone who looked upon me when I was a failure, someone to motivate me, to keep me on my path, to remind me constantly about my Nindo." Hinata suddenly perked up when he said those words. She didn't want to believe where he was going with this. "She was there when I was pinned down by pain and nobody was ready to help me. She was there when Neji died. She was there every time to remind me who I was and what was I supposed to do." "Do you know who that person was, Hinata?" Hinata's eyes were threatening to fall out from her sockets. She dreaded every second of silence. She tried to form words, to speak, to embrace what he was trying to say, but she just wasn't able to succeed. Naruto raised his head, and turned towards Hinata to face her. "That girl was Hyuga, Hinata. That girl was you. Every time, Hinata. Every single time, you were there for me." It's not that I never understood, it's just that you always outdid me. Each time I was left speechless, I got my strength from my comrades, but it always remained a mystery to me. From where did you get yours? And believe me, when I finally understood, it hit me. It hit me so hard that I felt every ounce of guiltiness which I didn't even deserve. Hinata suddenly blanked out. What could he mean by understood? What was that which he had figured out? She broke out of her trance when Naruto stood up and started to walk towards her. Hinata was going nuts. What should she do? She wanted to run away and scream as loud as she can. She couldn't handle it anymore. Why would he say all this after getting a girlfriend? She was scared to hear what confession he wanted to make because she was not sure if she could handle it now. Naruto was looking straight at Hinata. He was in deep thought and standing very nervously. Though the words which exited his mouth next were something she hadn't expected at all to hear. One moment he is standing above her, looking straight into her eyes, and the very next he is bowing down in front of her. I am so sorry, Hinata. I am sorry to make you go through all that pain. Even after everything you did for me, I still broke your heart, made you cry. You deserved so much better, but I messed it all up. Hinata didn't know whether it was wise to stay quiet and let him continue or to speak up. But then again, what could she possibly say in such a state? A state where she wasn't even breathing properly. Naruto brought his head up to meet her gaze. Her face was that of a shocked person, someone who just came out of a coma. Naruto knew she is surprised and astonished to react or to say anything. He always found her amusing, her willpower and her control. Everything she did was somehow different to him. The silence was getting awkward every second as it ped, and it was yet again the blonde who broke it. I saw Hinata, saw everything from the start, but still I was so oblivious to realize what it was. When I had finally realized everything, it started getting more simple and clearer. But believe me when I say this, I was nervous for the first time in my life. I had nothing to give in return, Hinata. I was stupefied when I knew you still hold feelings for me, just like when you confessed that day in front of Pain. That's right, Hinata. I still remember it, but I ran away. Love was an unknown feeling to me, and when you said something like that out of the blue, I didn't know what to do, and the more I waited, the more my chances to respond to you escaped. Hinata was awestruck. She had no idea how to react to this. She never thought she'd see this day. She managed to form sentences, but nothing came. Tears started to well up in her eyes. Naruto gently sat on one of his knee close to her and wiped out the tear threatening to fall down. I want to know, Hinata, do you still love me? Well, even if she did, there was still the fact that he had a girlfriend, someone who he was able to embrace as their own. She regretted that she was hopeless now, but it still didn't change her feelings she held towards him. All she could do was nod in the situation as her answer, but she wanted to say so much more. So many questions she had to ask. If he didn't love her, then why hurt her? Why make her go through it again? Why tell her all this now, and why not let her just try to forget everything? Naruto, without a second thought, after hearing her answer, embraced her in a warm hug. Hinata was stunned. He was hugging her. This was getting ridiculous, and she managed to utter one single word, why? Naruto looked straight into her shocked, round orbs. He knew he had a lot of explaining to do. Naruto stood up, walked towards the river, hands in his pocket and his back facing towards the Hyuga. Hinata, Hinami-chan, she isn't who you think she is. As soon as he said that, a figure dropped down right beside Hinata from the tree above. It was Tenshi Hinami. Hinami had arrived a little later after Naruto. Naruto knew she was watching everything from the tree, listening to them talk, watching them interact, but she herself knew everything which Naruto did, felt or thought. What Hinata was shocked about was that she didn't even notice a presence different from Naruto. Was she that good at infiltrating? Or had she just arrived? Hinata had gone through a lot already for the day. She needed answers, and fast. She looked expectantly at the two figures standing before her. That was all they needed to guess that she needs answers. He's right. In all actuality, Hinata, I am not even a real person. What do you mean by that? Asked a very confused Hinata. Naruto turned towards her and what he told her next was practically impossible, or was it that he was joking with her? She Hinata is actually me. Spent 3 hours just for you guys. Have midterms but still wanted to get over with another chapter for you guys. Do review and let me know what you all think. Now on with the chapter. She Hinata is actually me. The Hyuga eyes, they were famous to look through things which normal humans weren't meant to. You can be as professional as you want but they will see through you the moment they lay eyes on you. Hinata right now was perplexed by everything which was happening in front of her. Had she missed something? And what does that mean? How can you be him? Said Hinata. Naruto and Hinami both looked at each other and smirked. Naruto signaled something to her and she nodded back. It all was as if Hinata wasn't even standing over there. In all honesty, Hinata was actually curious as to what Naruto was mentioning before. She being him and all. That Hinata is very easy, and with that, in a poof, Hinami changed into Naruto. Brilliant, right? Stated the clone. Hinata was literally baffled. It shouldn't be strange for a ninja to stare at two of the same person. Hinami was Naruto all the time. There were many things going on in her mind, but the most dominant of them was why did he do all this? Yes, Naruto was very unpredictable and he had a rich pranking history, but why will he all of a sudden prank everyone with a joke like this? Why Naruto-kun? Why would you do this? Hinata had theories of her own. It was possible that he wanted to relive his childhood by playing a prank, or maybe he wanted to get away from all the fangirls who had been bothering him. But he could have come to Hinata looking for help on that matter. Hinata blushed at what Naruto had confessed to her before. Sure, he hadn't replied to her yet, but indirectly he had conveyed that he was glad she was in love with her. A new hope began to surge through his body. His girlfriend was fake, he was single and he cared about her. But she really needed to know the reasons as to why Naruto did all this. He didn't do it catch my attention, did he? Hinata shook her head to get the funny ideas out of her head and focused on them both, waiting expectantly for an explanation. Naruto first dismissed his clone and then walked towards Hinata. After everything had happened tonight, Hinata was feeling more uncomfortable around him, and him suddenly placing and then closing gaps between them was making her very uneasy. Naruto had a stern demeanor this time though. She knew that this was very serious or secretive. Naruto at first composed his thoughts and then started to explain anything. First of all, Hinata, you should know that what I'm about to tell you is a secret about which not many people know and I want you to keep it between us only. Hinata nodded in agreement. She sure was going to keep this a secret. She was really excited that he would share something important with her. I developed Hinami as a part of my mission, stated Naruto. Hinata was at a loss. Like a mission from the Hokage? Asked Hinata. Naruto only nodded as an answer and continued to explain. Like everyone knows Hinata, after Kakashi Sensei, I will become Hokage. They made him the sixth to get everything together after the war and also to teach me about ethics, law and the art of being a leader. All the while Hinata continued to listen attentively, nodding in between while he talked. About a week ago, after I had finished my training session, an Anbu messenger arrived and told me that the Kakashi Sensei requires my presence. 1 week ago, Kakashi was sitting in his room, busy as usual. There was Tsunade sitting in front of him, giggling time to time as Kakashi continued to sign paper by paper. Will you stop laughing already? Shouted out Kakashi. Ha ha ha. Sorry about that, it's just funny seeing you do all the hectic work while I can sit back and relax after retirement. Charming being the Hokage, right? Stated Tsunade hysterically. Kakashi started muttering something about troublesome blondes and behind him, Naruto climbed in from the open window. How many times do I have to tell you, Naruto? Use the door, stated Kakashi. Good to see you too, Sensei. Oh hi ba-chan, said Naruto. Like Kakashi, even Tsunade knew that telling the blonde to not do something will only rise up his spirits and just let the comment be. Sit down, Naruto. Me and Kakashi as a part of your training, have a mission for you, Tsunade said, all the while motioning him to sit down at the vacant chair beside her. A mission? Naruto asked. Well, it's more of a test, Naruto. You just have to bluff, explained Kakashi. Bluff? Where's the test in that? Naruto's question suddenly changed the atmosphere of the room. Tsunade had a mischievous smile on her face. Naruto knew he was in for something very nasty but was still confused. You see, Naruto, it's not your everyday bluff where you can get away easily, you have to lie to everyone in the village, spoke up Kakashi. Not only that, you have to succeed in your task and make them believe that what you are doing is the real deal, explained Tsunade. But I don't understand, why would a Hokage need to lie to his own villagers? What's the point? Asked the blonde. Kakashi cleared his throat, stood up and walked towards the window. He knew he was not just going to accept what he says, so he further started explaining what Tsunade and he had in mind. Naruto, there are times where a Hokage needs to lie, he needs to hide something in order to save his villagers, he needs to misguide them because he understands what's better for them. Kakashi turned around and saw that he had Naruto's complete attention. He continued, for example, the Sandaime had lied about your birth and what had truly happened when your father defeated the Kyuubi. He successfully made them believe that the son of the fourth had died, just so you won't come in harm's way. Your father had a lot of enemies, Naruto. The third knew this. If they knew about you and tried to harm you, they would have brought harm on Konoha in the future as well by controlling you and you powers of the Nine Tails. Naruto now understood what Kakashi was trying to say. He nodded in agreement. He remembered how angry he had been at first when he realized that the third had hidden his inheritance from him. But he had understood later that it was all for the betterment of him and of all the Konoha. He now understood the importance of the task, which Kakashi and Tsunade had handed him. Naruto stood up and looked at them both. I understand what you mean, is there something specific you have in your minds? No, Naruto, but make sure it's something very unbelievable, but still you make them all believe it. Surprise us by succeeding, replied Tsunade. Naruto nodded in return. He went towards the window. Give me a week, and consider it done, and with that, he was gone. That kid, he may be stupid sometimes, but talk about being the Hokage or protecting his loved ones, and he will lay down his life for it, stated Kakashi, and Tsunade couldn't have agreed more. It took Naruto 3 days to come up with the idea. He had never thought so hard on something his whole life, but he always took his training and cage grooming seriously, and this was not exception. He underwent so many ideas, he even thought something as bizarre as faking his death, going rogue, or send a marriage proposal to the Mizukage. But all this was not of his taste. Being the prankster he is, he wanted to come up with something more bizarre, unpredictable and perplexing. And he finally had it. At first, the raw idea was to bring in a family member. He was the last of the Uzumaki and the Namikaze after all. But to spice it up a bit, he decided to bring in a character to whom he was romantically attached. No one in the village would think of him entering a relationship. Genius. But this all was not as easy as he had thought. He had to do everything, starting from the scratch. He started thinking of a character. She had to be different, beautiful, strong, kind and charming. If he had to bluff, the character had to appear legit. Naruto was a master at henge. All his childhood, he had been hanging into different people and was better at it than anyone else. From a beauty as a prank on the third, to an old citizen out for shopping. Naruto was never accepted in the community those days, and to fulfill his domestic needs, he had transformed into different characters unable to fit in. He started trying out different forms, girls of different physiques and features. And this was the first time he had to work so hard figuring out a henge. He had to spend the whole night, trying out henges after henges just to get the right one. The next day, you could see Naruto's room in a clear mess. There were magazines everywhere, with models of all kinds. Naruto, standing in front of his mirror, was breathing heavily, apparently worn out. It was clear from his state that he didn't have a good night's sleep. Okay, gonna do it for the last time to check if I have it right or not. Henjutsu. In front of the mirror, now stood a tall and a beautiful brunette with long hair. She had round brown orbs, a fair skin texture and the perfect features. Naruto tried to get a better look at his creation by turning around and looking at the whole figure. He was proud with what he had created and then he started testing out different voices to pick up the perfect one. But this was only the beginning. He had a lot of work to do. Naruto had practically zero knowledge about romance and he knew this wasn't going to be easy for him. He had to make a plot, legit enough that everyone believes he has been in love with someone for 2 whole years. Every day he would make around 100 clones with various duties in his compound. Most of them would practice the new henge, not that he needed any practice, but he just wanted to make sure that he had no loopholes. The rest of the clones were to gather together, sit down and decide what could be the best, agreeable plot for his love life which would be believed by all. The next few days had not been easy for him, he was not progressing at all. Alright, boss, I guess we have no choice, stated one of the clones. No, you can't mean referring to that. Right, shouted another. Soon, every clone in the room started to pick up on what was being discussed and a chaos erupted in the whole compound. No, not that, for God's sake. But we have no choice. There has to be something else. Anything but that. Naruto was getting irritated by the chaotic atmosphere, so he dispelled all of his clones in frustration. Though he had to agree with his clones, there was nothing else which would help him now. He couldn't risk going out asking for help, and if he were to be Hokage, he had to be able to make decisions on his own. No more thinking then, it has to be that. I clearly have no other choice, but the question is, how am I supposed to retrieve them? Retrieve the erotic novels of Pervy Sage. That night, Naruto had a big mission. He had to infiltrate a certain someone's house in order to gain what he needed, and it was very risky, because the place which he was going to infiltrate was the compound of the 6th Hokage of Konoha. I mean, who else Naruto knew about who read all that crap? Naruto had infiltrated a lot of places in his whole ninja career. Even before he became a ninja, he had broken into the cage compound and stolen the secret scroll. At least that scroll was worth the infiltration. It took a lot of thinking, but Naruto broke in, got what he needed right under the watch of the guards and successfully retreated back with his subjects somehow. Later that night, Kakashi arrived late after his long tiring day from the tower. After a shower, he was going to the bedroom when he stood dead in his walk. Like a zombie, he dreadfully turned around and saw his empty bookshelf. His eyes started increasing in their radius and then, like a small girl, he screamed, "My limited Ica Ica Parodies Platinum signed collection." When Naruto arrived at home, he threw all the books on his bed. He continued to look at all of them in a horrified manner. He gathered every ounce of his confidence and created over 60 clones for the books. They all took a few steps back. They were terrified, but they knew they have to do it one way or another. With a gulp, they all nodded to each other and got to their working stations. The whole night, you could hear voices of Naruto's clones screaming, gagging and banging their heads in the walls coming from the compound. The next morning, Naruto was sitting at his desk with a pen above a piece of paper. He took a deep breath, took hold of that paper and threw it to the far end of the room where there were heaps of pages lying around on the ground. After 3 more hours, Naruto reviewed one last time everything he had written. He smiled to himself, finally satisfied with his achievement, and then dropped down to the floor, eyes closed and dreaming of how good he was going to get everyone. It was finally show time. Tom 80, haha, you get a whole box of cookies. On with the chapter. It was literally a stroke of genius. Naruto was much more cunning than he got enough credit for. You should have seen Kakashi Sensei and Ba-chan's faces when they overheard about me getting a girlfriend, said Naruto. Just how many people know and believe this by now? Hinata just had to ask. Who had they both heard? Well, the boys saw me on the way. All the fangirls got to know about it the moment I left my compound, and everyone saw me when I was coming to the cafe. Probably everyone is gossiping about it by now. When I explained everything at the cafe, Shino's bug was transmitting everything back to Shino. Probably every guy knows it. I killed the bug the moment I started to find you, stated Naruto. It was quite amazing. Naruto knew what to do and when to do. The way he improvises on the spot was amusing to Hinata. Although everything about him was amusing to her, but this was on a different level. But Naruto-kun, why did you tell me about all this? Hinata cursed herself when she couldn't help but stutter. Why? Because I like you, that's why. Hinata's breath got caught in her throat. Her blood suddenly started flowing towards her cheeks. She got redder second after second in the awkward silence, and she did what she hadn't done in ages, she fainted. That's when he realized what he had said. Crap. Naruto made a mental note in his head stating he needed to cure her fainting and self-conscious habits. Next morning, present time. Hinata slowly and gently moaned. The sheets beneath her body clenched to her as if she was a jewel. Last night Naruto had told her he liked her. It was something she had wanted to hear from ages, and to suddenly hear it from him was no less than pleasurable. After all the explanations, and after the little, fainting incident, they both had, wait, what had happened after that? Hinata cleared the sleep put of her eyes. Maybe all that was a dream, just like the rest of them which she is fond of having. But something was odd. Hinata jolted straight up. She looked around and saw unfamiliar surroundings. A king-size bed, huge room, scenery over the walls with decorations on the tables. The room had a shiny texture with wallpaper of different shades. This wasn't her room. Where am I? As if on cue, there was a knock on the door. The door opened, revealing a 6 feet tall blonde in a black mesh shirt and orange trousers. And then she realized, she wasn't in her own room, it wasn't all a dream, she was at the Uzumaki compound. Naruto-kun. Hinata suddenly started getting self-conscious. She was still in the clothes which she was wearing last night. It must mean someone just put her in the bed. He wasn't with her when she woke up. It must have been the guest room. Hinata sighed out of relief, though she felt a bit disappointed for some reason. Ah, boss is out. He kinda left me in charge. He had a test today, remember? A test? She didn't remember him mentioning something about a test. Well, how can she know? She had already run out of the cafe when they were discussing about it. When the clone realized it, he explained her about Hinami's ninja test and how long Naruto had been out. The breakfast is ready. He said you might want a change of clothes, so he left one of Hinami's attire for you. You can come down once you have refreshed a bit, and with that, the clone was gone. The room was huge. Naruto had been gifted a compound as a thanks from daimyos after the war had ended. The compound was a little big for him to live in alone. It had a big main gate with the 2 signs of Uzumaki and Namikaze clans. Enter inside and you'll see 2 separate pathways, one leading to his own personal training ground and the other inside the main house. The house was 2 stories itself, a huge kitchen, and several big rooms with attached baths. Naruto had invited everyone to his house when he got it, and that's when she had a bit of exploring. She entered the bathroom and it was beautiful. Quite awkward, isn't it? Calling a bathroom a beautiful place. It had marble flooring, a big wardrobe, sinks and toilet made out of the most expensive stones. It had a shower and a bathtub with all the accessories carefully settled in the cabinets and the shelves. Hinata blushed at the fact that she was standing in his bathroom. It was like one of her own fantasies were coming true. How good it would have been if she was in the bath of the master bedroom. She shook her head and focused at her task. After Hinata was ready, she was quite amazed at how cute the dress was. Pink and red was matching beautifully. Who would have thought? A boy who wore orange all his life will have such a good taste in women's clothing. When she came down and went into the dining room, she was left amazed. Naruto had furnished it more. The sceneries and the decorations were the same, but he had added a big table in between and removed all the smaller ones. It suited the place, it looked grand. The clone offered her a seat, which she gladly accepted. Even if it was a clone, Hinata still felt uneasy around it. After all, a lot had happened the previous night. Oh, you're awake. How lovely, chimed Hinami. Hinata was taken aback when she entered the room so suddenly. She will still need a little time to settle on the fact that he has a girlfriend, even if she was just an invention. It seemed she was finished with the test already. Wasn't that surprising? She was Naruto after all. Naruto poofed back into his own form as the clone vanished. The table was set and there was enough breakfast for 2 ninjas. You look very good in that dress. It fits you perfectly, stated Naruto, taking the seat in front of Hinata. Hinata blushed at his comment and managed to mumble out a thank you. Had a good night's sleep? Asked the blonde. He somehow always had this power over her. His mere presence had an intense amount of effect on the blue head. When Hinata realized he had asked her a question, she shook her thoughts off and cleared her throat. Hinata shook her head up and down a bit in response and further asked, "What happened last night?" Naruto looked up from his plate and smirked at Hinata. This girl was a mystery to him. To be honest, Naruto had regretted running away from her all these years. Heck, if he had thought before, he would have included her in his task, fake a marriage with her or something like that. You fainted. You need to work on your self-confidence, Hinata, replied Naruto. In all honesty, he found her cuter this way. Hinata blushed at his statement. She was embered that he had to see her like that, and then to carry her all the way to his home and then put her in a bed inside his compound when they were all alone for the night. Stop. Hinata shook her head violently in effort to remove all the stupid ideas suddenly popping up in her mind. I want to ask you something, Naruto-kun. Naruto knew what was coming. He knew it'll be the same thing which happened last night. Hinata took a deep breath and continued. Why did you tell me all this? Hinata mentally cursed herself. She was already stuttering. Well, just promise you won't faint. Hinata tilted her head a little to his statement, forming the complete definition of cute. Naruto giggled at her a bit, making her more perplexed. Hinata picked up the juice resting on the table in order to stay calm and be prepared for whatever was coming. The odds. I like you, that's why. Crash, and he said it again. Hinata choked on her glands, started coughing. Naruto broke out laughing at her reaction. Hinata was having an inner battle with herself, trying her best to regain her composure, stay focused and most importantly, not faint. But his little tricks were not making it easy for her. Calm down, Hinata. Drink more juice, might help you. Well, it will if you would stop doing that. Though she didn't say that out loud, it was hard enough to start a conversation, let alone a quarrel. Naruto-kun, please be serious for a while, asked the Hyuga. Naruto smiled back. Okay, fine, sorry, I'll be serious now, but it was the truth, I like you, Hinata. It took the Hyuga total 10 seconds to decode the lines which had just left Naruto's mouth. Everything suddenly became quite vivid, the surroundings, Naruto, his words, Hinata's heartbeat and her blush. She had waited a whole childhood to hear those words from him. Even if it wasn't love yet, but she knew he liked her. If she got his attention to this level, it won't be long when he falls for her. It took every ounce of Hinata's power to not faint. She tried to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't seem to escape her mouth. Hinata couldn't look at him anymore. She was gazing with her eyes deep into her lap. She had no idea how to respond right now. It was enough work to stay conscious. And also, I need your help. Naruto broke the ice. Hinata looked up shakily towards Naruto. Though she didn't meet his eyes, she couldn't. It was too risky to ruin this moment being lost into blue, deep, shiny orbs. Hinata realized he was waiting for her. She was a little calmer now, if you would call it that. She managed and forced out a single word. How? I thought you wouldn't ask. Well, I want you to go on a date with me. The gods must hate Hinata right now. The intense mixture of feelings was too strong for Hinata. How would that help? What about Hinami? Asked Hinata. That's the thing. It's too hectic to pretend to be two different people at a single time. Well, here's what we do. I take you out on dates as your boyfriend, you go out with me as my girlfriend, explained Naruto. Confusing. I don't understand. What do you mean? What about why your task? This was getting more confusing. He should realize she is at her edge and get to the point. I, I like you, Hinata, and I want to go out with you, but there's a task I need to perform too. So what if you henge as Hinami instead of my clone? We can have time to ourselves, and at the same time, it won't affect my deception, replied Naruto, clearing further. It was obvious he had given this a thought. It was genius. Naruto and Hinata will be able to start their relationship, while it would also be helped to further succeed his task. But all this was second to Hinata's surprises. What really had her going crazy was the fact that not only he had confessed to her, but also asked her out. Uzumaki Naruto had asked Hyuga Hinata out on a date. Actually, there was more to this. If you think clearly, it wasn't surprising for Kakashi and Tsunade when Naruto had suddenly invented a girlfriend, since they were aware that something was coming. They would be surprised, however, when in the end, they realized that it was Hinata all the time. Naruto got up from his seat, walked towards Hinata and sat down in the chair right next to hers. This sudden change in their distance was not getting Hinata anywhere. Naruto looked at her first, then to his right, then he scratched his nose. It was obvious, he was nervous. He cleared his throat and Hinata looked up to him and met his gaze this time. And that's when came the final punch. Hinata, will you go out with me? And with that, Hinata once again hit the floor, leaving a baffled Naruto, staring the empty chair which was occupied by the Hyuga moments ago. Done. I will try to increase the length of my chapter and continue to explain what more I have in mind. Do review, that's my energy. If their story dies, there's no point in updating it, right? Till next time, cheers. Yes. Hinata responded, Naruto as able as she could, and she had agreed to their date. Hinata and Naruto both understood that even though they were dating each other, Hinata was actually in someone else's form. She had to wear a mask of sorts in order to look like someone else. Henge into a different person, a different voice and a different personality. But there were several other problems too. For example, where would Hinata get ready for their dates? It was too risky to go in as Hinata and come out as Hinami in the Hyuga compound. That could get Hinami with a kidnapping and infiltrating charge. If Hinata gets ready and leave, and later henges into Hinami, it would raise several other risks. What if someone sees her outside hanging into Hinami? They could question her henge and it would compromise the task. Even if she isn't caught, there will be Hiashi who is going to be curious as to whom his firstborn is going out with. But the most difficult, annoying and dreadful problem, which both Naruto and Hinata saw, was Hinata's behavior around Naruto. Hinata was hanging into his girlfriend, but she was still the same person. Blushing, stuttering and fainting around his presence. And as far as the common sense goes, your girlfriend of 2 years doesn't get self-conscious in front of you, rather she is close to you than anybody else. Naruto had to work up her confidence as much as he could. Hinata knew that there were people who knew about her feelings towards Naruto, and they will try to console her the very next time they saw her. Well, she could avoid the girls and half of the village, but what was she going to do about Hanabi? They lived together in the same house and under the same roof. She couldn't risk expressing herself in the compound unless she was in her own room. Both Naruto and Hinata were sitting in the living room, looking at Naruto's carpet after they figured out the new hurdles. Hinata was at a loss of words after she woke up from her fainting session. She was ashamed that she fainted yet again, and also very nervous after Naruto had asked her out, though still she had managed to mumble a yes. After they started to discuss what to do and how to do it, it raised one question problem after another. They both had seemingly wandered into the living room and sat there, just thinking what to do in the current enigmatic situation. I actually didn't think of the consequences, Hinata. I was already too nervous as to how you would reply, so I never thought we may have to face so many difficulties, said Naruto. though it was Hinata's turn to surprise him. I have AP plan Naruto-kun, Hinata muttered as she looked at Naruto. Naruto perked up at this and looked at Hinata, hinting she had his full attention. Hinata composed her thoughts and got her words together in order to explain what she had in mind. Well, I just got off a mission, and I can ask Hokage-sama for a leave of a month or so. If everyone thinks I am not in Konoha, I will be able to dodge them since they all believe I am crying over your girlfriend now. Further, when everyone will be think that I am not in the V village I can. Hinata started looking towards her sides, showing how obviously nervous she was. Naruto smirked. It was actually a brilliant idea. He picked up as to what she meant and was referring to. And you move into my house, while everyone thinks you're on vacation, you henge into Hinami, we go on dates. It's win-win situation. You amaze me, Hinata. Hinata placed her face in her palms. She was already nervous when all he was doing was complimenting her. How would she manage living in the same house and being with him practically every single day? And that's when it hit her. How was she going to overcome her weakness around him? She practically hyperventilates in his presence. Naruto was not oblivious to this, the thought had come to him before her. Naruto went and sat right next to Hinata on her couch. He was studying her carefully. Hinata wasn't feeling easy, she didn't even dare to look him in the eye. After a few moments of silence and observations, Naruto got up suddenly, startling the girl. We need to work on your confidence, Hinata, and he finally said it. Hinata didn't do much in her reply, she just nodded up and down. She couldn't disagree with that. If she needed to get closer to him, she had to get over her shyness. And that was going to be a lot of work. For now, they both had decided that Hinata would go, pack up and visit the Hokage, whereas Naruto will set up a room for Hinata with the few clothes, perfumes and makeup sets he had bought for Hinami. The Hyuga compound. Hinata had managed to make it to the compound without being noticed by anyone outside. She went ahead and knocked on Hiyashi's door. After a few moments, Hiyashi called out, "Come in." Hinata walked in, closing the door behind her, walked up to Hiyashi and bowed in front of him. "Good morning, father," greeted Hinata, traditionally. "Yes, what is that which you want to talk about?" Hiyashi was a stern but a loving father. He was the head of the clan and nothing about the village went past him. It meant he came to know that Naruto had a girlfriend. He was also aware about Hinata's feelings for him but didn't see any regret on Hinata's face right now. He knew something was up but thought wiser not to pry. "Father, I want to go on a vacation, away from the village for a while. I need your approval, kindly allow me to," asked Hinata. She knew her father was a wise man, and wanted to get over with this as soon as possible before he starts interrogating him. "You have my approval. You may take an escort or a maid if you desire," replied Hiyashi. And Hinata felt the floor beneath her sinking. Her father had put her in a position where if she showed a hint of nervousness, she'll be caught. Hinata couldn't take anyone, she had to think up on something and fast. "I am grown-up, father, nothing of the sort shall be necessary. I want to have some time alone," said the former heiress. Hiyashi nodded and closed his eyes, continuing his meditation routine. Hinata excused herself, got up and left. Hiyashi was proud of her daughter, she had grown up to be a fine shinobi. Hinata's efforts during the war had proved her worth in her clan and was now looked up by many. Though he would never say anything like that to her. Hinata hurried to her room and closed her door behind her. She took a sigh of relief, happy she made it out safe and without any suspicion. Hiyashi now thought that Hinata was going on a vacation to get her thoughts cleared about Uzumaki-san, or so, how he would have put it. And this was good news. Hiyashi wasn't doubting anything and this meant that she won't be followed. Now, Hinata had to pack up a little, so it would seem that she is actually going on a vacation. After she packed up everything, Hinata went for the final obstacle, the Hokage. At the cage tower. Knock. Knock. "Come in," called out Kakashi. He was as usual, busy with his paperwork. But when his PA had told him that Hyuga Hinata wanted to meet him, he called her up immediately. Kakashi, like everyone else, knew that Hinata had feelings for Naruto. He understood that even if Naruto was faking about Hinami, Hinata still could be hurt. And wanted to provide her with any help he could. "Good afternoon, Hokage-sama," greeted Hinata, bowing in front of the masked man. Kakashi motioned her to take a seat and gave her all of his attention. "How may I help you, Hinata?" asked Kakashi with his one-eyed smile. "Kakashi-sama, I want to leave off ninja duties and go on a vacation for a month or so," stated the Hyuga. So that's what she wants to do. Take off away from the village for a while and try to move on, thought Kakashi. Dealing with him wasn't too hard, and Hinata was soon out of the building with his approval. She went straight to the compound, to get some sleep. She will execute their plan by the evening as decided. Meanwhile, the Uzumaki compound. Naruto was sitting idly in his chair, thinking deeply. He was supposed to make a very difficult decision: which room should he give to Hinata? It was obvious that she was going to need a room for the time she was going to spend in the compound, away from her home. But the question was, should she be given a separate room? Or move in with Naruto in the main bedroom? This question had really put Naruto in a difficult spot. Logically, a girlfriend would always share the same room, same bed and same bath, or according to what the novel stated. But Hinata and Naruto hadn't even gone out on their dates yet. This was proving to be a difficult choice, and Hinata thought that she was the one doing all the hard work. After a lot of wandering in the room, Naruto had decided to move her in his own bedroom. He needed to boost up her confidence, and this could be a start. Hinata was in for a big shock this night. Though no matter how mature Naruto had gotten, he was still quite oblivious when it came to all this. He brought another wardrobe in the room, filled it up with all the clothing he had bought. Though he left the rest of the space empty for any other, women's thing, which Hinata might bring along. All set, he cleared all the mess from his room. Picked up the scrolls, the clothes lying around, and especially all the novels. He hid them all with his underwear. Next, he properly made the bed. But not only that, he did something else, set up a futon on the floor for himself. He wanted the girl to come out of her shell, he didn't want to kill her. But he hid the futon under the bed, no good start without a little tease. After everything was done, Naruto went up to take a nap, and wait for the evening, to let the action begin. Time passed, the shiny sun was now sinking in the sky, leaving darkness behind. Hinata woke up and got ready. She was about to leave, though luck wasn't on her side this time. "Nei-chan," called out Hanabi from the other side of the hallway. Hinata dreaded every step she took towards her, closing the gap between them. Hinata didn't like lying to Hanabi. "I heard from father that you're leaving, is it because of Naruto?" asked a sad Hanabi. She was angry at Naruto, not because he had brought his girlfriend to the village, but because he never realized her sister's feelings for him, but realized his own, for a woman with whom he had only met at that time. "I am fine, Hanabi, you don't have to be worried about me, I will be back soon," replied Hinata, embracing Hanabi in a warm hug. She was trying to avoid lying at all costs, and for that, she would have to cut their conversation short. "I need to leave for a while, Hanabi. Trust me, everything is fine and I will be all okay." Hanabi couldn't argue more. She knew Hinata was more tougher and wiser now. And if father had allowed her to go, it must mean it was all fine, right? They both said their good wishes to each other, and Hinata left the compound as soon as she could. Hinata again sighed in relief. It was a close call. She wanted to avoid anyone on the way because she was practically running away from home in a sense, leaving by telling lies and all. But she needed someone. She had to let out the news that she was going on a vacation in between their friends or they all will make umptions. And that's when she saw Sakura walking by in the market. Hinata picked up her pace a little and bumped straight into the Pinkett. "Hey, watch where you're going, Hinata." Sakura stopped after she saw that it was Hinata. She picked her up and straight off started bombarding her with questions. Hinata, where did you go yesterday? We haven't seen you since, are you okay? Did you meet Naruto? Though when she saw the bag, Sakura suddenly perked up and forgot all what she was asking. Where are you going? This question was all what Hinata needed, to escape. Now she won't have to answer the series of questions Sakura threw at her before and even get what she need. I want to be alone, away from the village for a while, replied Hinata, dusting off the dirt from her clothes. Sakura was quiet for a moment or two, but soon she caught Hinata in a hug. Hinata, I am so sorry, but that idiot came in with a girlfriend out of nowhere. I swear I didn't know that he. Hinata cut her off in the middle by putting her hands on her shoulders. I know it's not your fault, not of any of you guys, I don't blame anyone. I just want to sort myself out, away from here. Sakura looked saddened a bit. If one thing Hinata had learned in all her ninja career, it was good improvisation. She knew she had to make sure that Sakura spreads her going away from the village within the group and also to make sure that Sakura doesn't doubt anything. She hugged her, and gave her a forced smile. She said her good wishes and went off towards the gates. Sakura watched from behind until Hinata disappeared in the crowd. Hinata reached the security, she checked out of the village and into the forest. After walking further a little, she checked if she was out of everyone's sight. Satisfied, Hinata put aside her luggage, and transformed into Hinami. And now, it was time for the last part of the plan. She started walking back to the village, ped the gates and went straight towards the compound. The plan was a success. Hinata knocked on the door of the Uzumaki compound. Moments later Naruto opened the gates, and when he saw her standing there, he gave her one of the warmest smiles. You're back. And with that, he scooped her up in a warm hug. Everything disappeared around Hinata. Her heart started to beat at an inhuman pace. All she knew was that Naruto was hugging her. Hinata was trying her best not to faint and ruin everything, and when Naruto left her, she managed to wobble inside the compound. After the door was closed, Naruto turned around to see a beet-red Hinami, staring off into space. Poor girl. Naruto forget that he still needs to work on her confidence. Great job Hinata. Did anything happen in between? Hinata shook her head left to right. Naruto wanted to start a conversation and took her to the dining room. He knew of no other good way to bring her out of her shock. The table was set with dinner. Both Naruto and Hinata sat down to eat their meal and discuss about what was going to happen next. Naruto told Hinata about every detail he had thought about Hinami, from her background to her likes and dislikes, her ninja status before and ninja status now, from her friends till her fake parents' biographies. And here is your Hitai 8 and Junin uniform. They allotted me elite Junin after the test today, said Naruto, handing Hinata the materials he picked up from the tower in the morning. Late night when they were finished with all the discussions, Naruto decided to show Hinata their room. He opened the door, put her baggage down and let her walk in. Hinata was smiling nonetheless. This room was warmer than the one she had woken up in the morning. It had a lot of decorations, sceneries, showpieces, carpet flooring, and a bed in the very center of the room. But what Naruto said next stopped her dead in her tracks altogether. This here Hinata is our room. Do review. This one was bigger than the ones I've posted before. Typing is getting harder day after day, but I am still trying my best. Cheers. Hinata didn't sleep till late at night. Living inside the same house is different, but living inside the same room is a whole different story. But when Naruto had said our room, it wasn't necessary, it meant our bed. Hinata was terrified really, she was fighting very hard to not faint again. Though when Naruto laughed her reaction off and pulled out his futon, she secretly sighed out of utter relief. Even though she was a bit disappointed. She tried all night to convince him that he uses the bed while she sleeps on the futon, but we all know one thing for sure, Naruto never gives up. The sunlight secretly entered through the curtains of the room next day. slowly erasing the darkness of the night and replacing it with its brightness. The warm atmosphere was evident, but was soon overtaken by the cool breeze which was entering through the open window. Hinata shivered in her sleep, bringing the sheets closer to her body and curling up, trying to fight the sudden change of atmosphere. Gently opening her eyelids, she turned around and looked below, towards the man of her dreams. Naruto was sleeping as if someone had ransacked his sanity. The legs and hands were widely spread out around his futon. Mouth open and his breathing making sounds of large amplitudes. Hinata was looking intently at his body, his chest, which rose up and down in a sequence as he snored in his sleep. Naruto was emanating heat out of his body. Hinata was amazed. He was like a furnace which was burning up, successfully fighting the invading breeze of the autumn. She sat up, blush evident on her cheeks. Yawning, she rubbed the sleep out of her eyes. A lot had happened these past 2 days. Things which were going to bring a huge change in the future. They were the turning points of the year. Hinata got up and went up to her wardrobe, looking for the usual. All she had in new were Hinami's attire, and she was currently fighting on the decision whether to spend the whole day as Hinami or to go with the flow. She had a lot of practicing to do since she was going to spend a lot of time as her. After a few moments of an inner debate, she picked up one of Hinami's outfits and went into the bathroom for her morning shower. It was a blue top with white trousers. It had silver and black linings on the top and went down till the knees. Hinata was quite amazed with Naruto's choice. Either he had some help, or he was a peeping Tom. She just hoped that it wasn't the latter one. She opened the water and waited until it was the right temperature, not too warm, not too cold. Till then, she placed her own shampoo and conditioner bottles alongside the soap bars. After a while she put her hand under the shower and checked the water. It felt the accurate thing and so, she stepped in for her morning ritual. Hinata had just finished washing her hair when suddenly she heard the door opening. To say she was shocked was an understatement. It appeared that our knucklehead forgot that he wasn't alone in the house anymore. And it was only a matter of time that he realizes his mistake. When Naruto saw the shower running, he lost it. He clasped his both hands onto his eyes even though the steam was blocking the view, with shrieks of, "Sorry," and, "I didn't see anything." He first banged himself in a hurry against the wall which was just right to the door, and then successfully managed his way out and slammed the door behind him shut. Hinata just stood there, soap in her hand, eyes at the door while the water gently running down her body. Her mind was still processing whatever had happened, and when it did, a gasp escaped her mouth, followed by a huge scream. Naruto was freaking out. He didn't know what to do. Hinata and him living in the same house was going to take some time getting used to. It took around an hour for Hinata to calm down, while Naruto got tense every second. He had ordered breakfast from one of the famous restaurants, made the table and finished his own shower as quickly as possible in the guest room. Hinata got out and looked herself in the mirror. She knew that he hadn't meant to do it, and it was clear that he felt guilty when he left the restroom. She made her hair, checked her clothes but didn't transform, not yet. When Naruto heard footsteps on the stairs, he prepared himself. Hinata looked into the room with one eye, and when she saw him, she quickly hid back. Great. Now you look like a fool. Hinata mentally cursed herself for her antics. I am really sorry, Hinata. I swear I forgot that you were in there and that I should be careful and that I was reckless and I should have. Naruto was interrupted by her figure. She came in from behind the walls and entered the room. Naruto closed his eyes shut for whatever impact he was going to take. He should be man enough to accept his punishment after doing a mistake. Seconds passed, but neither a slap nor a punch ever landed on him. He slowly opened his eyes and saw her standing in front of her, poking her fingers together. Naruto was confused to say the least. It's okay and Naruto-kun, muttered the Hyuga. Naruto was surprised. If it had been Sakura, she would have pounded him into the wall until he ped out. Naruto kept staring at her. She hadn't done anything and he was shocked. True, they both hadn't been to a good start, but she was having a huge impact on him already. It might be a matter of time that his feelings towards her start to grow stronger. Hinata was quiet for a few moments, but when he kept on staring, she started getting nervous. Naruto-kun. Her voice broke him out of his trance. Naruto realized he was staring and felt like an idiot. He apologized by bowing in front of her one last time and then pulled her a chair. Hinata gladly accepted the offer and took a seat. The table was set with a variety of dishes. There were eggs, bread, beans with milk and juice. But what caught Hinata's attention was her favorite, cinnamon buns. Naruto had been very generous this morning. Hinata was very pleased. With their prayers, they started their breakfast. It's like we are already on a date, haha, stated Naruto. Hinata blushed at his comment. It hadn't been a long time, but she was starting to get accustomed to his presence. What's the plan today? Asked Hinata. Naruto smiled. If years ago someone were to come up at Hinata and tell her that Naruto has planned out something, she would have laughed on their face. But now, he was a strategic and a confident ninja on whom Hinata would entrust plans. We will go out tonight, replied Naruto. Hinata stood up, went through a couple of hand signs and transformed into Hinami. What timings? Dear, stated Hinami. P.S. I will now refer Hinata as Hinami when she is wearing the henge and as Hinata when she is her usual self. I have reserved us seats in a restaurant. I didn't know where you would like to go, so I just picked up one. You decide where you want to go next time. But we need to get some things from the market today and I will need your help, stated the blonde. Okay. Let me get settled with my luggage and we will leave, replied the brunette. Hinami stood there for a moment. Naruto picked up on what she was struggling with and smiled. He was proud, to be honest. She was growing and adapting to things fast. You are going great. That's just how I have planned her like. Don't be nervous, said Naruto. Hinami smiled and nodded. And so she went upstairs to unpack the rest of her things. Hinata was just finishing placing everything when Naruto entered the room. I'm glad you didn't leave the room or move out, said Naruto. Hinami blushed in embarrassment. She shouldn't have screamed in the morning. He didn't do anything on purpose. Shall we go? Asked Hinami. Naruto smiled in return and they both went down. They were standing in front of the door. Naruto and Hinami both looked at each other and nodded. They took a deep breath. Hinami carefully took hold of Naruto's arm, trying to stay calm, and they opened the door. Hinami was mentally preparing herself while Naruto was praying until they reached the main gate. As soon as they both were out of the gate, Hinami noticed all the girls were giving her the nasty glare. The rest of the people who were pinged by were waving at them both, and Naruto was smiling right back with one hand behind his head and one which was occupied by his girlfriend. Hinami was already struggling, trying not to faint or to lose her calm. She had to force out smiles to everyone too. This was going to be a long day. After a little bit of walking and greeting, Hinami suddenly wondered what they had to buy, and so she asked Naruto about it. We will buy some clothes for you, some ninja equipment, and meet anyone who pays by in the process, replied Naruto. So he was taking her out for her own things. They went to the store, shops, and reached home by evening with clothes, goods, and new equipment. Hinami had been adamant to not buy so much, but Naruto was not to be moved. We have to go out for dinner in about an hour. I'll leave the room to you. Naruto took some clothes out of his wardrobe, and with that, he was out of the room. Hinata was back to her own self now. She knew Naruto was ashamed, but he wasn't supposed to leave his room like this all the time for that. 45 minutes later, Hinata was ready for her first, unofficial, date with her Naruto-kun. The only thing she regretted was that she had to wear a henge. There was a knock on the door and Naruto came in. He was wearing blue jeans with a black shirt on. He had combed his golden locks to the back. Hinata was getting short out of breath. He was looking very handsome. Naruto was somewhat surprised too. Hinata looked stunning. Her outfit was total black with a diamond set and a white handbag. The outfit was just right for her curves and they suited her. Why, you look amazing. Ready? Asked Naruto. Hinata blushed at the compliment. If only she could tell him how he looked. She nodded and transformed into Hinami. After they made sure everything was correct, they left. When they arrived at the place, Hinami felt quite pleased. They were going to the food wheel, and it was one of Konoha's most expensive and fancy restaurants. When they entered inside, the waiter came rushing towards them after he saw who it was. He led them both to their booth and left them with menus. Hinami and Naruto were both browsing, while the waiter came back few moments later to take their order. What should I get this lovely couple? Asked the waiter. Naruto was struggling for the answer when Hinami picked up on what was wrong. Naruto had never been to such places before and of course he won't know what to order. So she made it easy for him. 2 salads without cream, your special deal 6 with the sauce and 2 bowls of miso ramen, said Hinami. Naruto perked up and a smile graced his lips when heard her mention something about ramen-chan. Wow, you sure know the menu huh, stated Naruto. My clan, we often come to such fancy places with heads from other villages, whispered Hinami. Naruto understood that the Hyuga were a prestigious clan and it wouldn't be new for her to be here. So much for the surprising element. Soon their order arrived and they were eating. Moments later, a group of ninja came in and took seats behind their booth. They were the Konoha 11. Apparently they all had decided a get-together for 2 main reasons. 1. Naruto's girlfriend and 2. Hinata's leaving the village. When Naruto and Hinata heard them all talking and settling down behind them, they got curious. Apparently they both weren't invited for obvious reasons. And they knew that this would be a long night. I am telling you guys, something is fishy about Naruto and his new girlfriend, stated Sakura. Oh shut up forehead, she looked like the real deal and I looked through her myself. And you are only jealous because you won't be getting his attention anymore, replied Ino. What did you say? I so not want his attention, I have my Sasuke. Yeah, who hasn't been to the village since last year when he went out on a mission? Calm down you both, we aren't here to discuss Sasuke, remember? Pointed out Tenten. Women's got a point, not to mention that Hinata left because of him. Said Kiba. Apparently Kiba and Shino had been the ones to take it hard since Hinata was their teammate and a sister of sorts. It's not his fault, she never approached him in the first place, said Tamari. Everyone was aware how shy Hinata was. It was bound to happen one day or another. Why am I here? This is too troublesome, blazed out the Nara. Because you're the genius one here, idiot, said Ino. Whatever, we should order first, I am starving. Stated Choji. Both Hinami and Naruto were giggling as they were listening to their conversation. It wasn't polite to hear on someone but curiosity got the better of them. We have to make sure they both break up, muttered Shino. Voices of what? And yeah, rose up in the other cabin. If Hinata had to be together with Naruto, Hinami will have to disappear. Come on guys, Hinata wouldn't want that. Said Tenten. He has never been so happy. Didn't you see how joyful he seemed that day? He doesn't deserve this to be taken away from him, explained Ino. Does Hinata deserve something like this? Asked Kiba. Well, she wouldn't even want what you are suggesting. She is a brave girl, I know when she comes back, she would have changed, a lot, said Ino. I hate to admit, but that idiot wouldn't like if we do something so harsh, muttered Sakura. Hinami and Naruto were both disappointed, how can they even think of something for Naruto? Neither of them would want something like that to happen. We don't do anything, we leave it to Naruto to sort things out. I hate to say, but he always surprises me, Shikamaru knew they could all trust Naruto. Not only for sorting things out with Hinata, but by blending in. I still need to talk to Naruto, he has to do something about Hinata, I'd hate it if something happens to her, said Kiba. The discussion continued and Naruto couldn't take any longer, it was getting ridiculous. He stood up and went to the other side. Hinami tried to stop him but it was too late. Naruto went up to them and looked at everyone. Everyone was shocked to see him standing over there. Just how much had he heard? If he had, then it was a golden opportunity for them to discuss the matter. Both Hinami and Naruto were given places to sit. Silence reigned in the booth. No one was speaking anything. Naruto and Hinami both were the subjects of discussion and everyone was looking forward for their own opinions. I never knew that Hinata really feels like that, stated Naruto. Hinata is one of my precious people. I wouldn't want her being sad because of me. Only if I had known. How long? Ever since you were in the academy, you idiot. Everyone saw it except you, stated Sakura. Come on, man, you need to do something about this. At least talk to her about it, said Kiba. Hinami was just sitting there, she was calm and it was all going good. But then, Ino turned towards her. You said you could cheer her up, Hinami. How'd that go? Asked Ino. Naruto forgot to tell Hinata about that. That day in the cafe was Naruto's clone, and he didn't tell Hinata about that. Naruto looked at Hinata intently, hoping she makes something up. Hinami smiled in return to Ino, she had to think up of something really quick. Everyone was looking at her for an answer. The place where she has gone, was out of my suggestion. I talked to her that night. She has asked me to not tell anyone whatever we both had discussed. I promise you one thing though, when she comes back, she will be a new person. Hinami internally sighed, she made that up somehow. Both Naruto and Hinata, were confident that they will be able to dodge everything and clear things up. But there was only one person they both were afraid of, Shikamaru. Though luckily enough, the lazy head was asleep in the corner, they both wanted to escape before he lays even an eye on them both. We won't ever want you hurting yourself, Naruto. It's just that, we are worried about Hinata and wherever she has gone to. We want you to talk to her about this, even if it is only once in a lifetime, stated Tenten. Hinami placed one hand on Naruto's back and one on his shoulder. She gave him the closed-eye smile and hinted that things were going perfectly. I assure you that when she comes back, the most surprised out of everyone will be you guys. And I will make sure that Naruto-kun talks to her. I humbly apologize to every one of you for the inconveniences I have caused. It wasn't my intention. Hinami bowed in front of everyone. It was a trick, to make them feel guilty and earn their trust. Every one of them felt horrible as to what had happened just now. They now know that Hinami was a good girl and a perfect match for Naruto. Even though they were worried about Hinata, they would still leave her in the hands of them both. You don't have to apologize. We apologize if we caused you any hurt. Naruto's girlfriend is equally accepted within us. If he loves you, then there isn't anything we can do about it. We want him getting the love he deserves. We just hope that Hinata one day gets what she deserves herself, muttered Tamari. Everyone agreed to what she had just said. Whatever they were doing, it was all just because they were worried. At the Uzumaki compound, Naruto was in his room when Hinami entered the room. Changing back to herself, she went up to him. That wasn't expected. What a coincidence finding them all there, stated the blonde. Naruto-kun, what else is left which you haven't told me yet? We were almost busted when they asked me what I had told myself before I left, muttered Hinata. Sorry about that, but you were great. They all believed you in the end. Great improvising. Hinata blushed at his compliment. Hinata was advancing. She hadn't fainted all day, she was stuttering less and all in a period of events in a day. So much for the date, huh? I am sorry, Hinata, muttered the blonde. No, Naruto-kun, I had a great time, replied Hinata. Hinata struggled with her confidence for a while, she knew it will take time to be easy around him. But she had to change, she won't allow someone to actually come in his life and steal him while she keeps shying out. Yes, he said he liked her back, but that wasn't enough for her, she wanted more, she wanted him to love her, and she wanted to be one of his precious people. But things were just getting started, like as mentioned above, these events were going to twist the future, these events were the turning points of the year. Do review, guys. I am making the chapters longer now. I really appreciate all the reviews you guys posted, they all mean a lot to me. Till next time, cheers.